guys, Rachel here with Mercy House Global. I am an art teacher by profession, and I also help out at Mercy House doing some various things. And for the next few weeks, we're going to be bringing you some art activities that you can do at home with your kids. So first thing you want to do is you want to log into Mercy House Global, and in the search area, you want to put in Waves of Mercy greeting card set. And that is ultimately what we're going to be trying to create. It may not look exactly like it, and you may choose another activity, but that is the end product of what we're going to be doing. So it's a great way to not only have an activity that could take, 30 minutes to an hour with your kiddos, but it's also a cool way for them to be introduced to the mission and what we're doing here at Mercy House. So I am also a mom. I have a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old, and so I'm at home currently also trying to figure out what in the world to do with my kids for so long. So I have a little bit of an advantage that I am an art teacher full-time, and so some of this stuff comes a little bit more naturally to me, but I'm hoping that this activity will be simple enough that anybody who has some basic materials at home could do it. So if you see right here, these are the items that you're going to need. You're going to need some plain white paper. It can be newsprint, computer paper, anything that you have would be perfectly fine. A pair of scissors, glue stick, some type of writing utensil, whether it is a pencil, or you might even have a Sharpie that you want to use. And then the other items that you're going to need is you're going to need to look for some colorful paper. So I'm going to move this stuff aside, and I'm going to give you some examples of paper that you might be able to find around your house. Now, I have not necessarily planned to be doing this long term, and so this was really in the past 15 minutes kind of going through my house. So one of the first things that you can find is that packet of construction paper that you bought because you thought, oh, surely my kids will need this, and you have very rarely, if ever, pulled it out. This would be a great starting, and if this is all you would find, this would be perfectly fine. So pull out one of each color, if not more. You can also go into your mail and any of your junk mail that's come in. There is also going to be lots of colors throughout here that you're going to let your kids be able to cut through in order to use this. So you might have one literally sitting on your counter because it came in the mail and you're not going to use it. So this would be a good resource. You might have gotten something like this in the mail recently. For the rec centers, they give you their schedules. They have some really great visuals throughout that you would be able to use as color paper during this. Greeting cards that you've got, some of them come in really beautiful color envelopes, or you can actually cut up the cover of any of the cards that come. Any of those, magazine subscriptions that come that you go, I don't know, I don't need this anymore. These would be great, and your kids think it's so cool to cut stuff up. Also, the kids subscription, the aunt from North Dakota has sent you this subscription and your kids have read it once and now you feel guilty throwing it away. This would also be another great resource to be able to cut up. Now, for some of you, this feels like this would just be against everything we stand for, but one of the other things that I always think is really good is we get we get prizes in kids meals, and sometimes they're really good, and sometimes we go, oh, our kids read it once, and then it just sits in a shelf somewhere. I actually love cutting stuff up like this. They have beautiful images and beautiful colors, and so it actually allows your kids to repurpose and use something so that it can create something more beautiful, and then it doesn't just take up space on your shelf. What we're going to do to get started is I've pre-drawn a few different things. So it can be something as simple as a heart. So even if you don't have any artistic skill, you can draw a heart. You can draw something simple like sun with the sun rays. And all that is a circle and then have some lines coming out. You could draw some stars where you could create something simple. Don't worry about these lines in between because you're going to actually be collaging over top of it. So even if you have some of those lines in between, you won't be able to actually see them. One of the other things, and for me it's a little bit easier, but for some of you, we we are going to be having kids that ask us questions and go, Mom, can you draw a tiger? Can you draw whatever it is? And you're gonna feel ill-equipped to do that. So one of the tricks for those of you that don't really feel really confident in your drawing skills is to just find a coloring book. It can be anything. So if you have boys or girls, find something that would be something that they're interested in, and you can open it up. And my kids love ice cream. Who doesn't love ice cream? And so you can actually take the image, and then what you can do is you can just place the paper over top of it, just like that. And you can lay it over top of it, and then you can actually trace right directly over top of the thing. And so it doesn't require any skill whatsoever. For some of your older kids, this is definitely something they can do on their own, but they feel successful doing it because they feel like they have at least some guidelines. And so this would be something that you can definitely have them do on their own. And then it gives you kind of that basic outline. You can actually do this beforehand, and then your kids are going to go, oh my goodness, my mom is such a good drawer. And so then that gives you a really great starting point that you can start from. And so for this example, we're going to go ahead and do this ice cream cone. And so what you're going to do is now with that colored paper, you're going to actually start looking through and trying to find colors that you can use. And so remember that little book that I showed you here with the bunny? Well, the bunny itself is actually a really great tan color that I think is going to be perfect for my my ice cream cone. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just start cutting out pieces of the brown, and you can either go in between the lines or you can just cover up the whole thing. You're going to take your glue stick and you're going to actually just start taking it and covering it up. Now this does not have to be perfect, and I think that's something to stress really strongly with your kiddos is nobody's expecting this paper to be cut perfect. Nobody's expecting it to look perfect. This is just you, and you're just kind of having fun. And it's okay if even there's some green where the grass was, or right now I just cut out the eyeball of that little guy. And I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna fill in the entire cone with the brown. So you'll notice as I'm kind of working through here, some of the colors are a little bit different. When I start to cut out from different pages, the color brown is a little different. And you know what? That's okay. Nobody's coming in to check that. Sometimes we just want everything to be so perfect, but sometimes collage is a really good thing because it lets us loosen up a little bit and not feel so pressured to make everything perfect. Now the method that I'm showing you right now is using scissors, but there are lots of other methods that you can try, and I'm going to show you a little bit of a different method when we get to the ice cream. But as I'm coming through here, I'm just kind of cutting out the colors. Now I've seen some people cut out strips so that everything is the same kind of shape. If you like that look, you can try that. Some people cut out circles, some people cut out squares. It really is up to you what you choose to do. Be creative. Don't be worried that you're going to mess up, because you can either peel off the piece of paper or you can glue another piece of paper right on top of it. Now, as you can see, I'm almost finished, and I'm going to be gluing kind of the last piece or two on. And I'm not worrying about if I cover them up. It doesn't matter. You can kind of cover up a little area if you're just gluing stuff down. Remember, this is how you want it. There's no right or wrong way. So now I have pieced together that. So one of the things that you could do is if you've started that, but you actually really liked those lines to separate the ice cream cone, one of the things that you could consider is going to your construction paper, and you could cut some really thin little strips and you could actually glue your outlines over top of your stuff like this. I kind of like my cone like that, so I think I'm gonna leave it. But I'm gonna show you another option as we move up this cone, and I'm gonna show you how you can kind of line things up and try to match it so that you could actually cut something. And this is where you might want to use your pencil, and you could actually kind of line it up and freehand it so that when you cut it, you would know exactly how to cut it. And then when you glue this down, you'll literally have a single piece of paper for each section. This one might be for some of the older kids where they want to measure things and make them perfect. And so here I have an almost perfect little thing that I can kind of glue on top. I'm going to put my glue on the back of this, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. And for this example, I'm just going to show you a bunch of different examples that you could kind of include, just so you could see the different ways that you would want to work with this. Now the other way I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and since we have one more little part of our cone, I'm going to use the front part of this magazine, and I'm actually just going to rip off this little section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a tearing method where I'm not using scissors at all, and I'm just going to tear, and I'm going to see about how big this needs to be. So about right here. And then I'm just gonna rip. I'm not gonna cut anything. I'm gonna make my little rounded edges here. And then what I'm gonna do is there's my ice cream cone right there, so the top. So I am gonna take this and I am going to get some glue on it, and then I'm coming back and I'm gonna put this right here on the top. So there we have it, our ice cream cone is done. Now I'm going to get started with my ice cream. Now what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to continue on with this tearing method, and I'm going to use this back. I have this really great, I found this on the back of just one of our rec center registration things. I'm going to go ahead and just rip this thing out. That way I have everything that I need. Oh, aren't those great little tomatoes? And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, we're going to just make this some type of fun ice cream. I'm not going to go with a specific flavor, but it's just going to be a wild one. I think it's called Superman. I don't know what color, kind of ice cream it is. The one that the parents always get grossed out the kids pick because it, you know, dyes their mouth. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start the tear method, and I'm going to literally just tear these pieces out in no particular order. I'm not worrying about colors, and I'm just going to start tearing. I'm doing kind of bigger pieces instead of the smaller pieces, and I am just going to use this, and I'm going to fill in my objects, working my way across. Now as I'm working, I'm almost at the top of my ice cream cone. As you go, don't feel like those lines are there to make you do something, that you have to put them in there. If you want to end up going over something and just completely covering it up, you are allowed to do that because it doesn't matter. Nobody's checking, and it's just the way you like it. So I actually didn't really love how that little swirl looked. So I'm going to actually cover it up and just pretend like it wasn't there. And then instead of having that little swirl at the top, the way that I'm going to make this thing look like it's real and interesting is I'm going to get this last little piece on there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and try to find that envelope that I had. Here it is. So I have this here envelope that I've just had, and I'm going to go ahead and just rip part of it off. And you can kind of tell how things get really messy, right? You kind of end up spreading out everywhere. Another thing you're probably going to notice is your kids' fingers are going to be really sticky from the glue. That's okay. And what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to take this solid orange, and I'm going to cut some little strips like this. And I am going to make some sprinkles. So I'm going to cut them into some small little rectangles. And I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to take them and I'm going to glue them down onto my ice cream cone so that now my ice cream cone looks like it's got some really fun sprinkles. I'm hoping that you guys take this and it gives you a couple of hours in the afternoon when you want your kids to be doing something other than playing video games, or watching TV, and it gives you an opportunity to make something with them. If you ever have any questions or you're in the middle of this and you don't know what's going on, you can always shoot a message to Mercy House, and we'll get back to you with any additional resources or anything else that you might need to make this work. Remember, if you want to see how we're actually using this process for Mercy House, don't forget to check out Waves of Mercy greeting card set on our website, and that is an example of the piece of artwork that collectively all the girls from Rehema House made. They used the tearing method, and they wrote some things on some paper, and then they tore it up and created something out of it. It was a really special moment when they were working on that, and we hope that you have the chance to not only have fun with your kiddos, but also to share some of those stories through this process. Thanks, and tune in next week.